Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and today I want to tell you my thoughts on the books that I have read so far in June, which was 9 books. I have joined whatever-a-thon or whatever you want-a-thon in June, and so there's quite a bit of reading that I'm doing for that. I am already halfway done with my reading goal, so that's a good thing. Although when I'm talking about these books, I won't tell you which prompts they cover for me because I can't remember and I'm too lazy to get my notes, to be honest. But yeah, before we get into today's video, from today's video onwards, you're gonna have to probably deal with background noise in my videos because it now has over 30 degrees in Vienna and I don't like that. I don't like hot weather. And because of that, it's also too hot for me to close my windows. So you're gonna have to deal with background noise. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the books. The first book I'm gonna talk about is White Sand Volume 2 by Brandon Sanderson. This is his graphic novel series. This series is also set within the Cosmere, which is his kind of series spanning universe, where also the Stormwind Archive is part of that, Mistborn is part of that, and so on. Most of his books, actually, I think all of his adult books are part of the Cosmere. But anyway, White Sand is his graphic novel series. It's set in this world where there's people who can control sand, kind of, and they are called Sand Masters, and one day, like, a whole bunch of them get butchered and we're kind of trying to find out what happened. But yeah, my thoughts on this series. I enjoyed the first one-ish. The second one I really didn't enjoy. I don't really like the art style. I don't really like the story. I don't really like the world building. I think there's a few elements about the world building that are kind of problematic that I would accept if this had been published pre-2010, but after 2010 there's, like, for some reason that's my hard cut for certain things when it comes to cultural stereotyping, where I'm like, I don't like this. And I don't really care about the characters. There's one character that I've been waiting to meet for a while, and she's interesting, still interested in her, but she can't save this series for me, really. So I'm gonna read the 3rd volume because it's a graphic novel series. I can read 1 volume in like an hour, so it's not a big deal, but yeah, not excited for this. And this series, I'm gonna wait until I read the last one, but this series might be the series that will demote Brandon Sanderson from being my favorite author to one of my favorite authors, which, yeah, it's a whole deal. I don't like it. Moving on. The next book I want to talk about is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. This is the first book in the, what's it called? To something series. This is the first book in the Taxolan duology. This is a political, colonial science fiction novel, and we follow Mahit, who is sent as an ambassador to the capital city of this huge empire. She comes from a little station, so like, you know, a space station that's, I don't think so far officially part of the empire, but you know, there's this huge empire who's pretty much annexing all the small stations, and she is sent there to try and keep that from happening. And so yeah, this I really enjoyed. I thought it would be 5 stars. It wasn't quite 5 stars because there were just some small things where I was like, I would have loved if that had happened, and it didn't happen. But overall, first of all, the writing is absolutely beautiful. It's been some time since I've read a book with like such beautiful writing. It's not purple prose, I wouldn't say, at least, but there's so much done with the word choices, with the language, with the way the story is told, that's just it's so good. It's so good. Like, in terms of prose, I think I would put this on a level with some of my favorite writers in terms of writing, like Patrick Rothfuss, Madeline Miller, and so on, definitely. Then there's also, not just within the storytelling, but within the characters, within the way the characters talk to each other, there is so much done with language, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the author is a linguist as well. Then also the way colonialism and colonial dynamics are written into the story. It's so beautiful. It's so absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. I mean, I would have loved, that's like one of the reasons why this is more of a 4.5 stars rather than a full-on 5-star book. I would have loved if the main character had called out the microaggressions towards her a bit more, especially when it comes to the characters that she does grow quite close with towards the very end. So I think there could have been a little bit more done. Also, the romance, because of that, made me a little bit uncomfortable, because it isn't quite a colonizer and colonized romance, because, you know, Mahit's station hasn't been colonized, it hasn't been annexed yet. However, it's like almost has elements of that, which made me a little bit uncomfortable, gotta be honest. It's like, I'm not sure how the power dynamics work here, so that was a little element that also kind of pushed it down this 0.5 star. But aside from that, yeah, I just absolutely loved the characters. I wasn't exactly emotionally invested in the characters, but like, this book I loved so much on a purely, you know, brain level, where I was like, oh my god, it's so good. It's just so good. Everyone go and read this book. Then I read The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is basically the lore behind The Lord of the Rings, and I cannot remember anything. This is so dense, and I just didn't care enough about the lore behind The Lord of the Rings to properly dig into this. I'm sure if you're someone who really loves lore, who really loves to dig deep into lore, then this is definitely gonna be the book for you. But it just, I don't care enough. I love The Lord of the Rings, but I don't care enough to read this and to remember the 5,000 names that are mentioned in this, and to keep track of who is who and who did what. It's just, it's really well written, but it's not what I enjoy in my books. At least not in my fiction books. Then I also read Collected Place by Oscar Wilde. In this one we have Lady Windermere's Fan, A Woman of No Importance, An Ideal Husband, and the Importance of Being Earnest. And I gotta be honest, I enjoyed them in that order. Like, the first one I enjoyed the most, definitely, and the last one the least. But overall, I just have to say, well, you know, the language, it's Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is brilliant with language. Oscar Wilde is brilliant with irony, with sarcasm, with just, you know, commenting on the British society, British high society of his time. He is brilliant with dialogue. A lot of what he wrote in here very much reminded me of The Picture of Dorian Gray, and a lot of the dialogue we get in The Picture of Dorian Gray. However, overall, I just prefer novels. I don't really enjoy reading plays that much, but that's also because reading plays, that's not how you're supposed to consume plays. You know, you're supposed to watch them on stage. And so yeah, I did highly enjoy this. I did highly enjoy parts of it, but then sometimes in between I was also a little bit bored, because that's what happens to me with plays a lot. Next I have The Kingdom of Kappa, which is the second book in the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. In this series we follow Nadi, who lives in Cairo of, I think, the 19th century? 18th century? Some time around those centuries. And one day she accidentally summons a djinn, and he takes her away to this fantastical city called Daevabad. And there she then kind of becomes entangled within the politics of the city and of the different clans of Jinn and Deva and mystical beings and so on. Overall, I think I enjoyed the second book a lot more because I already knew the characters, I already found the characters very, very interesting, and I kind of wanted to know where they go. However, overall, a lot of this book, I just, once again, same as with the first book, I found myself just really angry at everyone because everyone just seemed very, how to call it, like very set in their own ways and not considering any other way, and only considering the plight of their own group and not considering how another group might see that. And like, it's just, you know, I basically didn't like anyone, and I had moments for every group where I was like, yeah, hate you right now, but then also at the same time I was like, yeah, kind of see your point. So I guess it's well written in that way, even though while reading it was very infuriating to me. Also, I had to spoil myself for the last book for who Nadi ends up with as a romantic partner, or who her romantic partner in the last book is going to be, because there would be one choice where I'd be like, no, I don't even want to read the last book if that happens. So I spoiled myself, and now I can go on reading the last book. But yeah, mostly I pretty much only like Nadi. I don't really like most of the other characters. I like the sister. I forgot what her name is. Zainab? Something like that. But yeah, enjoying this, and hopefully gonna get to the third book soon. Next I have The Four Profound Weaves by R.B. Lemberg. This is one of the books I'm reading for my video of reading international high fantasy. This is written by an author who is a migrant from the Ukraine and Israel, I believe, and they are also a queer bi-gender person. Now, I won't talk about this too much because, as with all of these books, I will talk about them more in depth in my video. But just as a summary, basically you're following two characters. Both of them, I believe, are transgender, and they are going on a journey. And that's all I really want to tell you because this book is less than 200 pages long. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing, and you'll get more of my thoughts in that other video. Another book I read for that same video was Dark Queen Rises by Ashok K. Banka, which is the second book in the Burned Empire saga. This is an adult high fantasy series that is inspired by the Indian epic of the Mahabharata. And Ashok K. Banka is also an Indian author. And so this story is set within an empire where to sit on the throne of the empire you first have to sit upon the burning throne and be judged worthy. And if you're judged worthy, you can then go on to become emperor, and if you're not judged worthy, then you burn alive, basically. And at the beginning of the first book we have a bit of a dilemma because there are multiple people judged worthy to sit upon the throne of this empire, and that kind of starts this whole big conflict. And the second book is just the continuation of the story of the first book. With this one, again, I won't tell you too much. I did not enjoy it quite as much as the first one because the second one, it just felt like the story, we were suddenly somewhere completely different, and I was very confused. It only marginally seemed connected to the story of the first book. Then there was also some chronological confusion for me in connection to the first book. However, overall, I do have to say I really enjoyed this. I probably enjoyed the characters in this one a bit more than in the other one, and the cover of this one is just absolutely gorgeous. So, I mean, what else can I say? But I'm excited to continue on with this series. I think the next one is probably gonna come out next year, I guess. And then the last book I want to talk about before we get into what I'm currently reading is Honeycomb by Joanne M. Harris, which is my 1 5-star read so far this year. I don't know if you can see this, but this is absolutely gorgeous. It's like gilded and it's cloth bound and so gorgeous. So it's kind of hard to describe what this is about, and also I will probably have a full review of this up in July, so I won't talk about this too much, but this is basically on one hand a collection of 100 short stories. On the other hand, a lot of these short stories are connected because they tell the story of the Lacewing King, who is the king of the Silken Folk, which is basically fairies. He's the king of the fairies. And so Joanne M. Harris tells the story of the Lacewing King, and some stories don't really seem to be connected to his story, but most of them then actually in some way or another tie into his story, and it's just absolutely beautifully done and beautifully written. It's also illustrated. Let me see if I can find one of the pretty illustrations. It's illustrated by Charles Vess, and yeah, it's just such a gorgeous book, and I think you definitely should all go and check this out, because Joanne M. Harris is just a beautiful storyteller. I don't even want to call her, you know, a writer, an author, not really in a modern sense. She truly is a storyteller, and it's so good. Everyone go check this out, even before I have my in-depth review of this. So now lastly, as in all my mid-month check-ins, let me tell you what I am currently reading. First, I'm reading L'Archipel en Feu by Jules Verne. I'm about halfway through this, and I would say actually what I understand of it, because I'm reading this in French, I am quite enjoying. Then next I have Kalpa Imperial, The Greatest Empire That Never Was by Angelika Gorodisha. And this I am also reading for my international high fantasy video, and I am also about halfway through this one. Then I have also already started the book for my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where we read one adult high fantasy book written by a woman or genderqueer person per month. All the links to the book club are down below in the description box, by the way, so you're welcome to check them out if you want to join us for July, which I'll probably have just announced the July book once this video goes up. But yeah, in June we're reading The Jasmine Throne, and so I have already started this. I got the Illumicrate edition, and if you want to see my unboxing of the box, I will also leave the link down below. But yeah, I'm about 200 pages into this, almost halfway through, and I am very much enjoying it so far. I have also finally started The Ambassador's Mission by Trudy Canavan, which is the first book in the Traitor Spy trilogy, which is the sequel trilogy to Trudy Canavan's Black Magicians trilogy. And I'm not too far into this yet. I'm about 100 pages in. It's about 500 pages long, so a fifth of the way into it. Also quite enjoying this so far, actually. I already read this before when this first came out, so like ages ago, and I did not enjoy it overly much back then, but actually this time around I'm enjoying it a little bit more. And then the last book I'm currently reading is A Natural History of Dragons, which is the first book in the Memoirs by Lady Trent series by Mary Brennan. I'm also about 100 pages into this one, which for this means I'm almost a third of the way into it, and I am loving this so much so far. I love Lady Trent, I love her character, I love her husband so far. I don't trust husbands in historical fantasy type stories because I feel like they're always gonna do something horrible, but so far I also love her husband, and yeah, I cannot wait to finish this and then continue on with the series. And that was all the books that I have so far read in June, and also all the books that I'm currently reading. If you have any thoughts you want to share on any of the books I talked about, tell those thoughts to me in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. All the links to my book club, as I said, are also down below, so go and check those out as well. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!